and action.
You ready?
Yes.
You done?
No. Go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nowhere for Long. My name's Ryan Hoover.
And I'm Nicole Hoover. And this is our wiener Bailey.
And this is just a short video to tell you a little bit about ourselves, our history, and our plans for the future.
So Ryan and I are high school sweethearts. He is my best friend's brother. And I asked my best friend Carrie for permission to start dating Ryan my sophomore year in high school. And after 3 days of begging, she decided to let us start dating under 2 conditions. 1, she didn't want to hear about the bad stuff. And 2, she certainly didn't want to hear about the good stuff. And 26 years later, we're still here, happily married, working together and heading out on the adventure of our lifetime. We have 2 wonderful sons, Riley and Dylan. And the end of last year, they both married their high school sweethearts.
That's it?
I mean, what else am I supposed to do? I talked about how we met and the kids getting married. What else was I supposed to talk about?
Okay. So Nicole and I both grew up with families that were very into camping. We did a lot of camping as children. I spent a lot of time in the woods with my grandparents on my dad's side and many family members throughout the years. We always did the tent thing, which after getting into what we're doing now, it seems like so much work, and it was a lot of work, but still very enjoyable. But we decided to get a motorhome at one point in time, about 4 years ago, and realized that it was a much easier experience and even more pleasurable to be out in the woods when there wasn't as much setup, when you have things just there ready to go. And through that, we learned that we could probably easily live in a mobile home like that. Our first RV was a Class A gas motorhome, a Winnebago that we called Francis. We'll touch on more on that later. But even at 28 feet with no slides, we found that it was very easy to live, so to speak, for a weekend in that space. And we weren't tripping over each other, even with 2 dogs. And that we just found it to be a lot of fun. And yeah, that's kind of what started us on this path.
Yeah. Well, and before we bought Francis, we also tent camped with our kids as a family. So we both grew up camping, and then we spent a lot of time camping with both of our sons, and they were both involved with Cub Scouts, so there was a lot of camping involved with that as well. And then when COVID hit, we learned that I could do my job from absolutely anywhere. In fact, he'd been telling me for years that I could do my job from anywhere, that I didn't need to have all the overhead of an office and all of that. And so as we worked from home, I really started considering, hey, this job could be done from anywhere. And then our son had been watching a lot of YouTube videos of families that sailed around the world, and they just lived full time on a sailboat or a catamaran and just traveled the world. And Ryan started watching those videos as well, and he would joke about how he could do that. Let's go do that. Let's just go sail the world and just take off together. And I was like, well, I get motion sickness. I guess I don't get motion sickness on the boat, but when I get off the boat, then I get really sick for like days afterwards. So I was like, I can't do the sailing thing, but I would absolutely consider the full-time RVing thing. And so he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I could totally do that.
And so at some point in time, we realized that this was something we could do. So we started putting plans in place. One of those one of the big changes in our life that had to take place was me switching careers. We'd also joked throughout the years or at least I had joked with Nicole about her being my boss and just bring me on and I'll come be another one of your people at your business. And it was never anything that we took seriously. But once we figured out how easily we could transition her business to something that was mobile, it was a whirlwind after that. So I ended up stopping working as an X-ray tech, which I'd done for about 7 or 8 years, and started working with Nicole. And shortly thereafter, we ended up selling our house. We were in this house for 17 years. We raised our kids there. It was, as you can tell in my voice, it was bittersweet getting rid of that, but it was a perfect time to sell. We did well with our deal, and we're able to step into this life pretty easily. But we still had to get Dylan out of school. He was still in high school when we sold our house, so he spent, how long was the apartment? 8 months?
No, we were in there for about a year, 14 months. We were in there for 14 months.
So very close to our house. We rented an apartment so Dylan could stay with all of his same friends and same school that he was at and finish up his schooling before we were able to truly become the nomadic empty nesters that we are now.
We did a lot of research in that time. That
Yeah.
was about when we started researching about full-time RVing, joining groups, and
our only history at that point was with a Class A gas motorhome. And I always had dreamed of having a big bus style diesel pusher. So that's where we had initially gone, down the rabbit hole as far as what we were looking at to buy. We ended up buying a car that was able to be flat towed behind a motorhome. And after a time and going through RV shows and watching videos nonstop, which I still do, very interested in RVs, we realized that the fifth wheels were much more homey. They have a taller ceiling with their opposing slides. They're just huge inside, and that, in addition to the reduction in maintenance with a Class A diesel pusher and a tow vehicle, you have more tires, more drivetrain, more engine, all the maintenance that comes with all of that. And the diesel pushers are very costly in maintenance. So we switched to a truck and fifth wheel.
Yep, and then we moved to Montana because we wanted our home base to be in Montana, and we bought our truck and trailer. Ryan fell in love with a truck at a dealership there in the small town we were at.
Yeah, we have a 1-ton Chevy that's all black, which is a horrible choice. Don't ever buy a black vehicle, but it's the coolest looking truck I'd ever seen, and I really had to have it. So I clean it a lot. Its name is Bud, and I mentioned before that our first motorhome was named Doris, or I'm sorry, Francis. Francis is also Bud. My grandpa, Francis Cagle, was a big inspiration, and I don't know, the earliest memory that I have camping was with Bud and Doris. Francis Cagle, as you probably have assumed at this point, also went by Bud. So our truck's name is Bud, and that's why Francis was named Francis. And our fifth wheel is named Doris for my grandmother. It is a 345 GK, which stands for Grand Kitchen, and she was an amazing cook. She was a school cook for years and years, and also cooked many a meal for our family that we absolutely enjoyed. We miss them greatly.
And so I'm originally from Montana, and I have a bunch of family in Montana, and I wanted to spend one more, well, at the time, I guess we didn't realize that it was one more, but I wanted to spend another Christmas and Thanksgiving with my family in Montana, because when we first set out on this adventure, we thought it was a 5-year plan. We thought it was going to take us 5 years to transition from selling our house to getting residency in Montana again, buying our truck and trailer, and then heading out on our adventure. But it happened.
A year and a half.
Yeah, so quickly, so quickly.
Everything fell into place just like it was meant to be.
Yeah. And so we spent a really grudging winter in Montana. It was probably the longest, coldest winter I had spent in Montana in a very, very long time.
Yeah, for an introduction into RV wintering, it was quite the hurdle. We didn't have any huge failures or emergencies, but there were some issues. We might talk about those in future videos. But yeah, it's the last time we're going to winter in an RV. We'll just put it at that.
So now we're starting our grand adventure, and we're starting our adventure out by revisiting a lot of our family and friends in the areas where we raised our kids and where we grew up. So we're spending this summer visiting family and friends, because once we head south for the winter this year, we're not going to be back into our home area for a couple of years. So we thought we would just, say goodbye to a place that we have loved for many years. And we bought a Thousand Trails membership because his aunt and uncle, who've been doing this for 15 years, highly recommended it. And so we're spending this summer staying in those Thousand Trails campgrounds. And our plan is to stay in each area for about 3 weeks. We figure that will give us a good amount of time to visit the area, do some hiking, visit some bowling centers, bike around, and just adventure all these new, beautiful places. And then we'll head on to our next adventure. So we won't really be staying anywhere for very long. Hence the name of our channel, Nowhere for Long.
And 3 weeks does happen to be the amount of time, the max amount of time that you can stay at most of the Thousand Trails parks too. So that's another reason for that time frame in each spot. But yeah, like she said, it's going to be more than enough for us on a daily basis to get done with work and go out and adventure and see what there is to take in at every new spot that we're at.
Yep. So if you want to join us on our adventures, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and hopefully we'll be able to submit at least one video a month.
Like as well.
Yeah, he said. So thank you for taking a few moments to get to know us, and we hope that you'll join us as we go on our adventure. And hopefully you can be inspired and realize that, dreams are possible. You don't have to be anybody special. Just follow your dreams.
Take care.
Bye.